welcome back to the Quick Shift channel. My name is Jason, and today we're going to fix the GTO headliner. So, like most older GTOs, or this isn't even an old GTO, depending on who you talk to, late model GTOs, this is a 2004, we've got the sagging headliner going on here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to unbolt it and bring it down and take it out and take it to a professional interior person to replace this sagging headliner, and then we'll bolt it back in once we get it back. So to start this project, first we've got to drop these Torx bits, and they're a 15 millimeter bit. Once you've got those bolts undone, you drop this down, and there is a little clip in here. You'll want to pop that clip and release this out. Once you have this side off, switch over to the passenger side and repeat. Same here. One Torx bolt there and two over on that side. Again, once you get the bolts out, you'll drop this down and you'll have another connector to release and pull apart, and then it drops right off. Now that that's out, we'll pull apart the pillars. I believe there's a bolt under here. Undo that bolt and pull these back. One thing to note that these screws in here are Phillips head screws, so get a Phillips head screwdriver to get those out. Next up, go ahead and pry this off very carefully from the back with a Phillips or with a flathead screwdriver. Pop it in there and gently pry this out. And once you've got this off, you'll reveal a couple more bolts that need to come loose on here. These are also Phillips head bolts. All right, so once you get those bolts out of there, they come through the back side. You go ahead and this lowers down. You can quick disconnect that. Now, even though you drop this piece down and off, you still have to fish this wire back through there, and it still is attached in the headliner here. Once you have these bolts out here, you can pull this back away and then start popping out the pillars all along the side, and then you do the same thing over here. And I completely remove this one so you guys can see that, but then your headliner will be free and you can pull it out. All right, so once you get your headliner back, you have to shoehorn it in through the passenger side, put your seat back, recline it, and do the best job you can to wiggle it in to minimize creasing it to the best of your ability. And then you take the cables, and you've got to work those cables back through this matting again and put them in the right locations. So when you put the mirrors back on, they go right where they should be, and you can plug them right back in. Here's another little tip that I did. So I took some Gorilla tape here, and these, when you take these off, you'll see there's some glue on there, glue gun glue, and I use the Gorilla tape to hold these in place as I'm reinstalling this into the headliner. So as you reinsert the headliner back into the car, you want to make sure that you're putting it back on the stays. And there's a few inside under here, so this is real hard to see, but you'll have to trust me. Get those suckers up in there properly on both sides. All right, guys, so when you pulled your pillars out, you might notice these clips come off of here and they end up sticking up here on the roof. So you'll want to take a pair of pliers, something like that, and grab them and pull them out and reinstall them onto the A-pillar here. So you can click these back into place. Makes it a lot easier to do if you put them back onto here than if you leave it up here and try to push this into that. So pull them off and put them back onto here. So once you've got the passenger side all reinstalled, all the brackets pushed in, again, it's kind of dark in here, sorry guys. Then switch on over to the driver's side, and make sure that you've got this sitting where it's supposed to sit here. And then there's another back in here. And then start pushing the panels back in. Back one, front one, then the centerpiece, and then put your screws back in. All right, guys, so up in here, this is the back. And there's another stay in here that you want to make sure your headrest material is up on this stay in the back. And then as you come up to the front, do the same over here and get it up in there. Make sure your wires are coming through on both sides. Sorry, just realized I had this light. I would have done this before, but that's the passenger side all up there, all set in, all clicked back into place. Now we've got this up, and make sure you reinstall that if it pulled out. And then this is a little tricky here. It interlocks right there. So you want to make sure you've got that interlocked, and then start pushing these panels back into place. Now before we push this one in, obviously you want to get this pillar in, and we pulled all of these locks out and reinstalled them like you saw before back in here. So we're going to start lining those back up and pushing that back into place. All right, guys, so this is the last pillar. So you want to make sure, line up all these holes. It's hard to get an angle on this, but line them all up, and it should start clicking into place. So there we have it. You want to make sure that this lip gets in there or it won't sit right, and you pop this carefully back into place. And be especially careful with this. This is pretty tricky to get it since it interlocks here and here with the two other pieces. Once you get it in there, it should be nice and secure. And reinstall these bolts and the covers over here on this side, and then back over on the passenger side. Then we'll get to screwing this down. So once you get it in there, go ahead and screw these bolts down. Don't over tighten them, just snug. Grab the little caps that you popped off and pop those caps back in place. Clean up some of that crust from the old headliner. So next up, with the torque spit, we'll install the rear view mirror sun visor clips. All right, now that we have those two installed, I'm going to go ahead and install the center console, or the dome light here, back into its original spot. So first we need to connect it back together here. So once you've got that plugged in, then you want to reinstall the two bolts up here that hold this back in place. All right, so once you've got the two bolts screwed back in nice and snug, don't over torque them, then you grab the old cover and pop that back in. For now, while we finish installing the sun visors and my mic for the radio. So next up is the driver's side sun visor. So first we're going to start by plugging in the electrical connection, and then there's two bolts or screws that go in that hold it up, and then we'll repeat the same thing over on the passenger side. So you guys want to make sure you find these holes properly. They go front and back to the driver's side over here. Make sure you line this up right, or you can have real tough time finding these. And just finger snug them up nice and good. Don't over tighten them. Pop this back in. Double check it. Looks like the lights are working. Looks like I need to clean that mirror, which I've never used once in 17 years I own this car. Good to go. Now we got to go over here and do the same thing on the passenger side. There you have it, guys. Fully reinstalled headliner. All the way across, all the way up. Everything clicked back in. centerpiece back on. Looks like brand new. So if you guys like this video, thank you for joining the channel. Thank you for the thumbs up. Please give us a like, subscribe, and watch for additional videos. Now it's time to do a little cleanup in here and clean up some of this mess.